Lewis Hamilton back on home soil, but this time not in silver, in red. And for the first time in his storied career, the British fans at Silverstone saw something surreal. A scarlet Ferrari gliding past their grandstand, piloted by the man they've cheered for over 2 decades. It wasn't just emotional, it was fast. Fast enough to top the opening practice session for the British Grand Prix, ahead of Lando Norris by just 23 thousandths of a second. A British one too, but with Ferrari and McLaren, teams that were once the fiercest of rivals, now united by hometown heroes chasing something much bigger than headlines. But this wasn't a typical first practice. It was loaded with quiet signals, strategic blinks that reveal more than a leaderboard ever could. Hamilton's time? Set on a second push lap. Norris? Hooked it up first time. And Verstappen? Nowhere near the sharp end. At least, not yet. As the C6 compound made its first major appearance of the season, and rookies like Lindblad and Aaron got their taste of the big leagues, the real story wasn't just who went fastest, it was how they got there. Because if this first practice told us anything, it's that Hamilton hasn't just come home, he's come armed. With a Ferrari underneath him, a crowd behind him, and the pressure of expectations pressing in from all sides. Silverstone might be on the verge of witnessing a chapter even more improbable than his debut win in 2008. The stopwatch said Hamilton was quickest, but the real value came in the details beneath the time. His 1 minute, 26 seconds and 892 thousandths didn't just edge Norris. It revealed Ferrari's entire Friday playbook. Unlike McLaren, who showed their hand early, Hamilton's initial flying lap was interrupted by traffic at Stowe. But instead of aborting the run, he adjusted. Coolly. Strategically. On his second push lap, he delivered sector deltas that told a deeper story. Low-speed rotation was vastly improved compared to Austria, and Ferrari's traction mapping into Vale looked tailored specifically for Silverstone's rear-limited layout. Meanwhile, Red Bull, quietly running a new floor, struggled with aero balance, especially through high-speed corners like Copse and Maggots. Verstappen's complaints about instability at both ends weren't just grip-related. The GPS dropout cited by Lambiase might have masked traffic, but it didn't mask the car's handling woes. His late surge to 10th on the softs came with heavy ERS deployment, more performance masking than unlocking. McLaren, for their part, seemed split. Norris was dialed in immediately, but Piastri took longer to settle into the new C6 compound, which has a quicker drop-off than its C5 predecessor. In the midfield, the standout wasn't experience, it was execution. Hadjar outpaced Lawson. Albon extracted raw pace from a Williams, still focusing on long runs. And while Mercedes ran clean programs for Russell and Antonelli, their top speed delta was unremarkable. But the session's sharpest insight? Hamilton's tyre life curve. On his second lap, degradation was flatter across the rear left, a known pressure point through Luffield. That single data point suggests Ferrari's upgrades are functioning more effectively than anticipated. If that consistency holds over race distance, Ferrari may not just be fast, they may finally be strategically sustainable. There's something about Silverstone that strips drivers down to their essence. For Hamilton, it's the raw memory of victories etched into the tarmac. For Norris, it's the pressure of a nation quietly wondering, is this finally his weekend? And for George Russell, caught between rising talent and uncertain momentum, first practice offered no peace. When Hamilton roared past him at Stowe in the final moments of the session, not just on the timesheets but on track, it felt symbolic. This wasn't just a Ferrari passing a Mercedes. This was Hamilton staking his emotional claim on a circuit he's dominated, now with a new partner and an old hunger. Russell, by contrast, was steady, but not electric. 5th place on a track he's called home since childhood, edged out by both McLaren's and his former teammate in red. The pressure is mounting, not from the media, but from within that garage, where Kimi Antonelli's shadow grows with every session. For Lando Norris, first practice offered confirmation. The McLaren was sharp, predictable, quick in the corners where it needs to be, but more than that, he looked comfortable. No overdriving, no late corrections, just focus. For Piastri, the opposite. Small hesitations through Village, a fraction off into Brooklands. Not a disaster, but not Norris-level composure either. And then there's Verstappen, visibly irritated. Not with traffic, with the car. His body language said more than the radio ever could. And while first practice is never definitive, the psychology of a front runner feeling vulnerable, especially here, especially now, is something that leaves a scent in the paddock. One that engineers notice, one that rivals feed on. The timing sheets only told part of the story. Heading into Silverstone, Verstappen still holds a commanding lead in the championship. But as we've seen before, domination can dissolve faster than tyre grip in a hot Silverstone stint. Hamilton's first practice performance doesn't suddenly thrust him into title contention yet, but it alters the dynamic. Why? Because if Ferrari has genuinely unlocked long-run consistency and McLaren remains as strong as they've been across circuits with varied layouts, the threat isn't singular anymore. It's compound. Verstappen has to now fend off multiple angles of attack, not just one. And in the constructors' stakes, things are even tighter. McLaren sits dangerously close to Red Bull in the standings, and with both Piastri and Norris in the top three today, the team has clearly not regressed. Mercedes, meanwhile, is slipping into a points vacuum, still scoring but losing momentum, especially if Russell's qualifying form doesn't improve. The British Grand Prix could be pivotal, not just emotionally, but mathematically. A poor weekend for Verstappen, combined with a strong double finish from either Ferrari or McLaren, could slice Red Bull's constructors' lead into a margin that invites risk, especially as the calendar heads toward more variable circuits like Spa and Zandvoort. And remember, last year's mid-season swing started right here. One bad tyre call, one mistimed safety car, and what looked like a coronation can turn into a title race. For the first time this season, Verstappen isn't chasing the limit, he's chasing clarity. Hamilton winning at Silverstone is hardly news. He's done it 9 times. But the image of him leading first practice in a Ferrari, that's the kind of thing history notices. The last time Ferrari truly looked this composed at Silverstone in a free practice session, it was Sebastian Vettel in 2018. And even then, the optimism was tempered by tyre degradation and Sunday vulnerability. This time, the picture is more layered. Ferrari didn't come to Britain with revolutionary upgrades, they came with refinements. Subtle aerodynamic tweaks aimed at improving airflow around the floor and managing tyre temperatures more precisely over long stints. And what we saw in first practice mirrored their best strategic weekends. Calm execution, minimal errors, and enough pace to get everyone's attention without showing all their cards. For McLaren, the British Grand Prix has often been a painful reminder of potential unrealised. Last year's heartbreak, after Norris's near win, still lingers. But this time around, the setup looked race-ready out of the box. The last time McLaren came out this strong on a Friday, it was in Singapore, and they finished 2nd and 4th. Red Bull, historically dominant here, looked ordinary. Verstappen hasn't finished lower than 2nd at Silverstone since 2020, but that run feels less inevitable now, especially with balance issues creeping in and rivals closing the delta. The real historical tension lies in what Hamilton represents. A home hero in a red car, rewriting the familiar storyline. If Sunday delivers what Friday hinted at, Silverstone could witness something Formula One hasn't seen in over a decade. A Ferrari win, not in Monza, but on British soil, with a British driver. That's not just narrative gold, that's a seismic shift in the mythology of modern Formula One. If Ferrari's first practice form is real, and not just a low-fuel showcase, the pressure shifts fast. Teams know Silverstone. Silverstone is a barometer circuit. If your car works here, it tends to work just about everywhere. Fast corners, heavy braking, high DGs, everything gets tested. That means Hamilton's performance isn't just symbolic, it could be predictive. And that puts Ferrari in a delicate position. They've shown flashes of pace before this year, but never consistency. If they mismanage tyre allocation or fail to translate qualifying into race control, first practice becomes another footnote. But if they capitalise, they become a real threat, not just to Red Bull, but to McLaren's trajectory. For McLaren, the big question is, can they finally win on home soil? The car is quick enough, Norris is composed. But strategic execution, especially around tyre crossover phases, remains fragile. One misread on degradation windows could undo a weekend's worth of promise. Red Bull faces a different challenge. They've been reactive for the past few rounds, responding to threats rather than controlling them. If that trend continues, they risk becoming beatable, not just occasionally, but structurally. For Mercedes, this isn't just about points, it's about momentum. If Russell gets out-qualified again, and Antonelli stays close, the team faces uncomfortable decisions sooner than expected. And for fans? Silverstone promises something rare, unpredictability. The crowd will come for Hamilton. But they might witness a weekend where every top team believes they can win, and that belief in Formula One changes everything.